Right, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for our latest webinar in our Sizewell C Supply Chain Business Support Program series. Today, we are doing winning strategies for Sizewell C, powering communications and marketing for success. My name is actually Shorey-Mills. I'm the Supply Chain Engagement Director here at the Suffolk Chamber of Commerce, leading the Sizewell C Supply Chain team. And this is the latest in our series of webinars we've been doing, covering all manner of subjects. A lot of them suggested by you, the audience that are signed up to us on our portal, for what you want to see as we get ready for the opportunities that are coming on Sizewell C. Today, we're going to cover off a couple of little bits and pieces. We've got myself just doing a little preamble and understanding and a bit of an update on the project and a couple of the key messages that we like to land. And then we're going to hand over to our two speakers today. We have Carl Turner from Sizewell C, and we have Nicky Robertson from Woodbridge Visual Media. As normal, we will then do a Q&A after the two presentations. Please ensure use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen for any questions that you have. You've also got the chat function. Do feel free to let us know that you're here, who you are. As always, we love to hear from businesses that are listening today that are already winning work on site. Massive part of our job is going to be moving forward around the communications of those who are successful, who are winning contracts, actively doing stuff on site and experiencing the excitement that is Sizewell C. And it's good to see now that we have an awful lot of local and regional firms already playing their part, both on the site but also in the off-site developments that are now taking place quite publicly as well. So please make sure, engage with us at the bottom. We want to hear from you, and make sure that your questions and your thoughts are put across to our speakers and our experts. Just as a reminder, why are we all doing this? This image is one I know many of you would have seen plenty of times before, but for those on the call today that maybe are not as local or have not seen this before, down the bottom of the screen, you'll see Sizewell A. Very soon, that image will be different because the decommissioning of the turbine hall is now commencing. So decommissioning on Sizewell itself is a massive opportunity through the Sizewell A estate. In the middle, you've got Sizewell B, about to be turned back on after its scheduled outage. Currently giving the UK around 3% of its energy, has been powering since 1995, sorry, I think, and due to be operational until 2035. But next year is going through its inspections for its 20-year life extension. So the plan is that actually Sizewell B will continue to power the UK until 2055. And then north of that, towards the top of the screen, you will see that image of what Sizewell C will be. About 7% of the UK's energy. So quick maths, 10% of the UK's energy powering the homes across our nation are going to come from that little pocket of land on the Suffolk coastline. That is why Sizewell is so critical to this region, and why we want to see it as much as possible built and constructed using local and regional firms. Everything is about replication from Hinkley with regards to the design on this project. It's the way you save money. It's the way you improve delivering and efficiency of construction. So the model that they are copying from Hinkley Point C in Somerset is almost directly the same. As we always like to say, that does not mean the supply chain is automatically replicated. Some of the major tier ones will come across from Somerset bringing their learning, but then utilising local and regional firms to play their part in delivering the build of this project. As always, what we like to ensure we're hammering home is that Sizewell C, as well as wanting to build this project and do the right thing for UK PLC, for energy security, for climate change, is that actually they're trying to do it in the right way for the UK as well. So our government is the majority shareholder in Sizewell C, and that means it is going to be a different project from Hinkley with regards to how it's funded, how it is built, and how it is operated. You'll see lots and lots of information there. We will share these slides as we always do afterwards, as well as the recording of what you're going to hear today. But you'll see there's lots of individual aims of this project beyond just constructing something that's going to cut our reliance on gas and oil. And particularly one of them is around delivering supply chains for the UK and legacy benefit, particularly to the local region. And that's done through the ESG and the social value commitments of this project. And particularly in the bottom, you will see some of those key aims that are around ensuring that the environment is considered, that there is social value around education, supply chain, and just like I said, reducing the environmental impact of construction. What we want to ensure is that local businesses play their part in all of this, and hence those commitments that Sizewell made to spend £4.5 billion through the supply chain in the East, so the 6 counties of the East that we represent, and you are all part of that potential solution. And that social value runs through, how do they ensure that they increase the UK content from Hinkley, which sits at around 63%? They want to hit at least 70% UK content on Sizewell. And the way in which they're going to do that is by driving forward social value on Sizewell C. And you'll see goal 1, that's the one we care the most about, increasing UK content. And you'll see in there, it clearly says prioritizing local, then regional, and then national spend where possible. So putting local first. If you're a business locally that can do something on the project and can deliver safely, securely, on time, on budget, then you have a role to play. But also it's important that whether you're a local business or you're a national or international business coming and working on Sizewell C, that you consider all aspects of social value. How do we invest in the skills and education needed, both for Sizewell, but also as a legacy for this region, looking at the other nationally significant projects we have, both in the energy sector, but also across wider infrastructure? How do we reduce the environmental impact of construction from decarbonising plant? Many of you will be aware of what they're trying to do around hydrogen buses, and the first trial buses have arrived in Suffolk this week to try and decarbonise the passenger transport that's going to be required for the next 12 years. How do we try and make a more equitable and less inequality-based workforce, whether that is to do with race, religion, sex, any aspect of society? How do we try and really change the dial on making Sizewell the most inclusive place to work? And of course, importantly, boosting those opportunities for communities. Sizewell C is the right thing for the UK, but of course it is going to cause some level of disruption, particularly to East Suffolk, but to the region more broadly. So how do we boost opportunities for communities to benefit from this project, especially whilst we are feeling that little bit of pain that will happen through the construction? And that's that commitment that we spoke about. So they're committed to 3 key regions within the UK. We're working very hard to obviously represent the East, but working in collaboration with Wales and with the North to ensure that where the right parts of the project can have the biggest impact in those regions are felt. And of course, this is for Sizewell, but it's also for constructed now. Some of that supply chain will have to come across, some of those skills will have to come across to Sizewell because they've been nurtured in the southwest. But then post Sizewell, where do they go? Where's the next opportunity with nuclear? And there are obviously multiple sites for large scale reactors and small modular reactors and advanced reactors around the UK. And it also then starts to help build a nuclear supply chain that actually is then fit for exporting around the world. And that's a big part of the benefit of having a nuclear supply chain, is the ability to export your skills and workforce to other parts of the globe, because the UK nuclear industry is seen as a bit of a benchmark for everyone else. Also, the important thing why this is vital, this commitment, and to start this, is because by current plans, by 2030, every single nuclear power plant in the UK will be ceasing operation apart from Sizewell B. So we have to ensure that Hinkley is built, Sizewell is built, and that there is then that pipeline for future developments, utilising the skills and workforce developed for Sizewell C. And how do we help you? As we, I'm sure many of you have had our support or have been on these before, but it is important to remind, we are there to sit in the middle between you as the supply chain and Sizewell and their tier 1 partners, working top down, helping Sizewell and their partners to understand the local supply chain, understand what businesses we have, who is available, who is there and able to provide services that are required on this project, but then also to work bottom up to help you as businesses who are interested in this to actually understand what you need to do, whether that be to do with compliance and standards, things like today, understanding the importance of marketing and communication, understanding what an NEC contract is, whatever it may be. We're there to support you get fit and ready for Sizewell, so that when they come calling, wanting to use local businesses, that actually we have the local businesses that are able to provide the services they need. And we'll help identify funding, training, other businesses to work with, helping you understand that proportionate growth that we would love to see. And of course, running our supply chain portals, which are vitally important that businesses both register on, but also keep up to date. And we'll continue to support in whichever way businesses need us to. So at this point, I will say thank you very much, and I will hand over to Carl Turner from Sizewell C, who's going to talk through from Sizewell's perspective this subject. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm the communications manager for construction at Sizewell C. So I look after any comms that comes from one of our construction sites. Originally, I trained as a journalist and spent some time working at the BBC before moving into communications and then at Sizewell. Next slide, please, Ashley. So we want to work with you. We think it's important to work together. Winning work at Sizewell is a great achievement for any company of any size. And if you're successful, you'll be part of a really exciting project and a really fantastic opportunity to build something quite special, as Ashley has kind of alluded to earlier. My team's job is to tell the story of that build. Yeah, we're there to tell the story of the project, but also we're there to tell the story of the people who are building it, the companies, the organizations who are on our sites doing great work. We want to kind of shout about that. We need to share that story with various different people, whether it's other people in our project so they can see what's going on around our sites, whether it's our stakeholders, so the government, for example, or elected members of the council. And even the local community, we hold regular forums that we need to make sure we keep people up to date with what's going on, and making sure that we share those community benefits, positive local stories is a big part of what we do. As it's a nuclear construction project, and as with any construction project, there are strict processes. It's slightly more on nuclear, but they're there to make sure that there's control and consistency across messaging, rather than get in the way and stop you doing things. We don't want to sit here and say no, but we want to work with you to make sure that we do it in a sensible way. Next slide, please, Ashley. So our comms team on Sizewell C, we have a corporate comms team who predominantly work out of London, who we report into. We share our stories, we share our content with them from the site delivery program. And we want to share your stories as well. So, for example, we've got here an archaeologist from Oxford and Cotswold Archaeology, and we work quite closely with them on telling the story of what they're finding, because people are really interested in it. And it's a great achievement. The people on the ground are really, really proud to work for Sizewell C. It's a fantastic kind of project to be on, and they're quite proud to go home and show their kind of friends and family. And if we can amplify that, why wouldn't we? It makes perfect sense to share stories of how we're making people's lives better, which ultimately is what we will be doing with Sizewell C. But Sizewell C does need to manage all comms. Anything that comes out from our construction site does need to come through our comms team. Not necessarily that it's going to be sent out by us, but we just need to make sure that the messaging's right, that the imagery, any video, any audio that's used is okay to be used. We do have a dedicated team of creatives who work on site. So we've got photographers, videographers, graphic designers, etc. So there's always the possibility, if you've got an idea, if you want to do something, if you've got an event, when you're working on sites, we'll see that you want us to come and come and cover, please get in touch, because we have this team. We need to make sure we use them to kind of, they're some of the best professionals I've ever worked with. So we need to make sure that the content that we're gathering and publishing is of a really, really high standard. Next slide, please, Ashley. Excuse me. What we need from you, there's a couple of bullet points here. People. So all of our stories should really be people focused. It's what performs quite well with comms. So having case studies, having interesting people who are quite comfortable in front of camera is no bad thing. Conversations. Me and my team are out on site every day. We're talking to contractors. We're getting to know not just the project managers, but the people actually carrying out the work. We're really interested to hear about their stories, their lives, what they like to get up to outside of work, what interested them in working here, that sort of thing. So if you see us out and about, stop us, talk to us, tell us what's going on. We're really keen to hear what's going on, so we can share those stories with the wider comms team and the communities as well. A comms contact is really, really helpful, and the reason I've put that in kind of inverted commas is because it doesn't necessarily mean we need you to have a head of comms or someone who's dedicated to that, but there's someone who's responsible for comms in your organization, and Nicky will talk about that a little bit later. But we need to know kind of who we can talk to. If we want to run an idea past somebody, who can we talk to? If we want to get a quote for something, if we want to work with you on something, who can we talk to? So it's really, really worthwhile having conversations internally with yourselves about who that's going to be. Is there someone who you've got that's dedicated to that role? Or is it going to be, if you're a smaller organization and you don't have that, are you going to have an agency that we can speak to? Are you going to have someone who's going to take that part as part of their role? And amplifying our content is really, really beneficial for us and for you as well, because it helps share the story more widely. We've got quite a big presence on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and we like to share our messages, and we like people who are involved in that. So, for example, we've got a picture here of Blackwell's. Whenever we're doing work with them, we'll tag them, and they will then share it, and it will go to their audiences as well. And that's really beneficial, and we'll try and do the same back. We'll return the favor. So if you are doing something and you've got some approved comms that you're putting out, let us know when it's going out, and I'll make sure our Digi team kind of get in touch or share that, and make sure that we can kind of share the good news together. And the final thing, excuse me, is about sticking to the policies. They are there for a reason. We need to make sure we stick to them, but we are going to work with you to navigate those. They're not there, like I said, to get in the way. They are there to make sure that things are kind of consistent and of good quality. So please just get in touch, speak to us. There's no such thing as a stupid question in my world anyway. That's kind of a brief overview from me. I'll hand over to Nicky now, who will give you a bit more in depth about comms in your organizations.
Hi, everybody. I'm coming at this from a slightly different angle to Carl. I'm coming at it from a sort of pre-tender angle. And I want to kick off with two questions. How do you as business owners and managers give the best possible all-round view of products and services to someone outside the business, especially when that person has very little time? And is it important to showcase your offer to increase visibility and improve reputation in your sector? I hope that in this presentation you'll find the answers to those questions in relation to your business. I'm the Managing Director and founder of Mendip Media in Somerset and Woodbridge Visual Media in Suffolk. Slide please, Ashley. My agencies have been supporting supply chain businesses in nuclear new build for nearly 2 decades. My crews have filmed since the first spade went into the ground at Hinkley Point C in 2018. So we've watched and recorded the site as it's developed. And since 2022 in Suffolk, our team's been producing videos for the Suffolk Chamber and local businesses gearing up for Sizewell C. It's fair to say that we're busier than ever servicing both the nuclear new builds themselves, their tier 1 contractors, and the wider supply chain with visual content. That's from aerial filming, time-lapse in particular, and lots of general communications. It's because video animation and photography are used intensively in large infrastructure projects to communicate with disparate workforces across multiple locations. It really is the go-to medium for busy project managers. Slide, please. I'm sort of guessing that some of you have joined the webinar because you've an interest in tendering for work at Sizewell C. You're here to find out whether up-to-date, properly produced marketing is a need to have in the bid process rather than just a nice to have. It goes without saying that the baseline for a successful tender is having the right goods and services for the bid, and that your offer is compliant with health and safety requirements. But there is, as Carl has touched on, another element to consider. You may have the right fit, but if what you do, how you do it, and the positive effects your business has in the community doesn't stand out, you risk being overlooked. So shaping the narrative, showcasing your business, and going that extra mile is a strategy. Slide, please, Ashley. So how do you make what you do visible to the procurement teams at Sizewell C and make sure your business grabs short attention spans in a competitive environment? There's some key ways to market yourself in a business-to-business context. The most important communications channel is your online presence. Make sure you have an up-to-date website. It's your backstop. It's where buyers go to verify the business. And it's often a requirement to write down the URL for tenders. When I say up-to-date, I mean make sure that the site works quickly on a click, that it's technically compliant for the web browsers, and that there's just enough text explanation to act as a call to action. Above all, be proactive with visual content online. Put lots of images on your website. Make sure they're big and bold. Search engines and viewers love images and video because it's easily digestible information. Don't fall into the trap of using generic photographs ripped off the internet. You'll be infringing copyright if you use images without buying them. And if you do go down the Shutterstock route, be aware that stock photos stick out like a sore thumb. They don't necessarily tell the viewer anything of interest about your business. And I'd say that if you take one lesson away from today's talk, it's that, like everything else in business, time is precious in the online environment. Your company and brand needs to stand out from the competition instantly and keep the purchaser's attention for a long enough time for them to form an opinion about your offer. Slide, please. So we come to video. So this type of marketing is really at the apex of the marketing pyramid. A lot of layered messaging can be contained within a short space of time. As a show and tell format, it's ideal for fact finders such as procurement and project leaders. Video gives a window into the business environment and can demonstrate processes, showcase company leaders, and authenticate product offers. If you're thinking of commissioning a promotional video for your business, specifically to support a bid for the Sizewell C project, it's useful to think of it as a cost of sale investment. The film is the part of the bid that will get you noticed and allow the procurement team instant access to visual information about the company. But it's not just a financial commitment. Commissioning a video is a real-time commitment. It's a complex format and requires proper preparation, which is likely to include access to the business, staff that are willing to appear on camera, demonstrations of product in locations which are prepped, in the factory, in the workshop, on the production line, and possibly with customers. Factor in at least 6 weeks from initial commission to shoot, and a further month for editing and your final approval. And obviously, sometimes you'll be needing the approval of the project itself, and budget appropriately. A video that promotes the business in its best light will need a producer to work on scripts and outline. It might include the time-lapse and aerial filming. It'll probably require voiceover and interviews, and you might consider a version with subtitles in English. Many of the local businesses that have won work at Hinkley Point C are using video to compete for and showcase work to a bigger global infrastructure audience right now. Slide, please.
Okay, we're here at Avonmouth Docks on Emberth, about to load out a milestone piece of equipment, the polar beam, which will go from Emberth down to Cumwich Wharf and up to HPC.
So as the barge is trimmed down to allow the beam to be loaded, we pump water in. As the barge is then coming up with the load coming on, we've now got to ballast the water out to keep the barge trim and level, to prevent any roll in the barge and to stop the ramps from coming disconnected on the bow.
With such an important piece, there's been a lot of consideration and planning in place for, to make sure their health and safety is perfect.
The loading of the polar crane beam was successful with no issues. At the moment, the Osprey team are securing the beam to the barge, and the marine team are just deballasting the barge, getting it ready to depart to Woodbridge this afternoon.
So today we're at Woodbridge Wharf, preparing to receive the electrical girder A of the polar crane for Hinkley Point. So the polar crane sits in the HR building. It services the nuclear reactor during the operational life, and during the construction phase it'll put in the reactor pressure vessel and the steam generators, the heavy lifts.
What you're seeing now is seeing linesmen going from donut fender to donut fender, attaching mooring lines to enable the barge to commence its turn into the wharf.
So today we're discharging the polar crane girder beam A from the barge Isabel Rose. It's very crucial that we time the tide and the ballasting correct to ensure that the load comes off safely.
What you see when we're doing the ballasting, especially when we're doing an afloat discharge at Woodbridge Wharf, is it really critical that we maintain that balance throughout the load, especially as the load transfers across the barge. Arpco Polar Crane successfully landed at Woodbridge Wharf. Outstanding effort by Team Osprey from start to finish. Next stage of it is a move up the C182. Well done all. Thank you.
As the polar crane will be one of the last major components installed into the Unit 1 reactor building before dome lift, the crane components arriving on site marks a big moment for HPC.
Done all our last minute checks, traffic management's in place, road closures in place. I've just had the phone call that the all stop has now been put on, so there will be no traffic passing.
Okay, so the polar crane beam has just arrived at site. We've just got the last few hundred meters to go, what we call the final mile. This has been incredible collaboration across a multidiscipline team across Europe to deliver this exceptional project safely and smoothly on time at Hinkley Point C.
The team have been fantastic on this project so far. The collaboration has been second to none. We've delivered the polar crane beam, the first polar crane on the project. We've installed the polar crane onto a plinth, removing a lift and increasing safety.
Thank you to all the teams involved in the manufacture, delivery and construction of the polar crane.
So here we see the polar crane at the end of its journey to Hinkley Point C, delivered by the Osprey team. Months and months of planning. Move went really well, smooth, a lot of professionalism. Well done all.
So that was a video, a bit juddery, and it's not like that when you show it on not through a software like Zoom, but it was a video that we produced in 2022 for the Osprey Group, which is an independent family-owned specialist logistics provider. When we filmed it with Osprey, it was just starting its contractual relationship with Nuclear New Build at Hinkley Point C. It was just beginning a fully funded marketing refresh with a newly appointed in-house marketing director. It's now a regular contractor moving abnormal indivisible loads from Bristol Port to site, and its turnover has quadrupled in 3 years. Finally, and if you and when you consider video as part of your marketing mix, it's important to have a distribution strategy. I know companies that have made videos But once they have them, they don't put a plan in place to output them other than to upload them to their website. So if you're thinking of creating a promotional video to support a supply chain bid, make sure it has a long tail and can be used elsewhere online or at events to increase your company's profile and to rinse value from the investment. You can do this by getting the visual content producers you hire to advise on how to make a film that is usable for a minimum of 6 to 12 months. Set up a YouTube channel, that's free, and if you make sure that you contextualize the video with appropriate copy and tags, it'll do even better in SEO. So select your thumbnails carefully, and if you can, add text to the thumbnail because it's really, really good for the search engines. And the same goes for LinkedIn and X. Uploading videos, which can be the same film or new versions of old footage several times over several months, provides more routes to your target viewers. Building this audience to coalesce around the ultimate goal of winning a contract is really all part of the momentum of the whole bid. Creating great visual content, whether video or photography, always goes hand in hand with a robust marketing plan. If you use an agency, make sure that your marketeers have the ability and knowledge to schedule video posts to multiple platforms, and that the analytics are reviewed by you to ensure that content is being strategically distributed. To give an example of a visual communications plan in action, in 2023, we produced a campaign for EDF site operations to make recruitment videos for 5 local suppliers to Hinkley Point C, ranging from security, catering, cleaning, accommodation and transport. These local businesses were struggling to find staff. Each video we produced showcased the benefits of working on site using real testimonials from existing employees. After the content was completed, we had oversight of the scheduling of posting the videos over a timeline of 6 months. Working with in-house marketeers to collate data on the job vacancy uptake, both before and after upload, we reported results back to the client. And I think without this distribution strategy, the videos by themselves wouldn't have been successful in tackling the problem. They did get increased job inquiries, and I want to show you one film from the campaign. So video, please.
Hi, I'm Gillian Povey. I'm a general catering assistant at Somerset Larder here at Hinkley Point West. When I started, I needed to do a week's training and a couple of courses. As a general catering assistant, it's you're not just needed to serve on the counter and tills. You are required to go to the coffee shop and the shop to help out when needed. But everybody's friendly. When I came in, I knew nothing, and everybody was so willing to help, you know, give advice, and they're just a nice bunch. We have a laugh, but obviously the main thing is to get on with the job. Yeah, they're not looking for particular experience in catering. They're just looking for generally hard workers. We work on a 3-week rota. And we work 1 weekend in 4. Our shifts are 5:30 till 2, 2 till 10:30, and then there's also the mid shift, which we call the 8:30 till 5. My last paid job wasn't bad paid at all. With the travel allowance and your sort of shift premiums and stuff, I would recommend working here at Somerset Larder. The pay's brilliant, the premiums, your travel allowance, your meal allowance, the working atmosphere, the people that you work with are nice. So yeah, it's a good place to work.
Slide please, Ashley. I think that's a nice video because it shows you a bit of the inside of what it looks like in Hinckley. For us, marketing's been a journey. It's the flip side of operations. It's easy to forget about marketing amidst the million and one other things to be done in a company, and that goes for us as well. And with budgets always tight, it never seems quite the right time. But marketing is the pathway that allows businesses to grow. In a connected world which is fiercely competitive, the visual representation of a business is more important than ever to catch the attention of the buyer. If you want to win work and you have a business story to share, the investment in quality content is a small upfront cost for a potentially game-changing gain. Putting a marketing strategy in place needs commitment, time and money, but given the prize, mapping out a targeted plan is worth serious consideration. With that, I'll finish and hand back to Ashley. Thank you for your time today.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Nicky. I do love, I mean, I'll apologise because it's probably our terrible internet while there was a bit of juddery. I can rest assured, having seen Nicky's work and having worked on one of our events, 2 of our events, I think, with Woodbridge Visual Media, it's very good stuff. And I was watching it this end. But that polar crane video always blows my mind because for anyone outside of the subject matter we're covering today, anyone's ever unsure as to how big these projects are, you know, that single piece of infrastructure takes months in planning, not to build the thing or put it together. That's already happened. Just months in planning of getting it from point A to point B. And again, another example of where this project is learning is, I don't know if you took notice of the notes at the bottom of when it was traveling on the road, 2.24 miles an hour or whatever it was for a 5.2 mile journey. Certainly going to clog up that road. Imagine if that was happening in East Suffolk, you know, travelling from, I don't know, but maybe south of Leiston to the site. That's one of the reasons why this project is actually building marine infrastructure direct on site. So it is all about learning those lessons. How can you do this? How can you make this work better? But no, thank you, Nicky. And we certainly see from our experience talking to those suppliers at Hinckley that actually marketing and communications is that single most important thing that they've done with regards to, you know, yes, they'll improve their team. Yes, there is continuous development of their workforce and the tooling that they're using to be a business, but actually it's about selling it. And I think, you know, I'm sure many of the businesses here today will have been at events or roundtables or discussions where we always say that businesses, particularly Suffolk, Norfolk, we know what we like and we like what we know. And, you know, we don't want big expensive roads because we don't like people coming in, because, you know, we like keeping everything internalized and very much, you know, we know each other and we work well together. Actually, for projects like this, it is time to start to be that little bit more arrogant about how good we actually are. Our experiences seeing businesses and understanding what they do and the incredible work which we do all over the UK and all over the world that you'd never tell from a little shed on some industrial site in the middle of Suffolk. So it is so important that we take this subject seriously and really start celebrating those successes. So thank you, Nicky, and obviously also thank you, Carl, for your input as well. So we'll do some questions before we sort of cover off any other little bits and pieces. I'm just going to go, because I know there was a couple that were put in the chat function. So please, any questions you've got, either bear in mind to do with today's subject, or if you've got any other questions whatsoever about the project or other parts of the project, please take this as your opportunity. You know the way we work, we're always happy to answer them. And if for any reason we can't answer, we'll always come back with answers in the future. But it was good to see so many names sort of introducing themselves, and particularly actually a lot of new names that I don't recognise. So it's always good to know we're hitting some new people. I know there was a question, I think, from Nacton Farms, wasn't there, a moment ago? Let me just get down to it. You know, we're growing a wide variety of vegetables, which is what we like to see in the canteen. You know, in essence, how do we get involved? How do we, or do we need to wait for the opportunity for the contract to bid into? So if you take this subject, Francis, and actually it's the same across a lot of subjects, the project needs to identify its long-term way in which it's going to deliver. So if you take catering as an example, it will soon go to market, probably in 2025, for the either mid-term or long-term full life of the Sizewell C project catering provision. It will likely go as a single provider that will run the catering operation. Bear in mind, you are feeding upwards of up to 8,000 people a day, 3 meals a day, plus supplying visitors, people like myself and people like Nicky or Carl, stuff that are just turning up from time to time, going in, going out, plus the wealth of visitors that will be coming from businesses, dignitaries, stakeholders, etc. In addition to that, you've obviously then got shops, you've got bars, you've got other restaurants, you've got other facilities, you've got the jiffy vans that are going round and other solutions like vending. So the opportunity for then suppliers to supply into that single contractor is vast. The work we will be doing, Francis, is working with the project as we are now, as they start to identify the strategy for how they're going to go to market for that single source point to run the catering operation. What will then happen soon after that, and also through this next few months anyway, is we will work with those potential providers to help them understand the landscape of supply at tier 2 and tier 3 level. On that subject, you may have seen the press release recently from Sizewell that they want at least 80% of their produce on this project locally sourced. And that's something they will stick to. So it's about making sure that local providers, whether that is fruit and vegetables, meat and fish, all the way through to the wholesalers that are going to supply the fizzy drinks and the water and things like that. How do we make this as local as possible? The key for you as a business is stay engaged with us. Make sure you are on our portal, you are registering yourselves and representing yourselves in the best way possible. And from there, we can then ensure when that need comes up, we will put you forward. No one's just got on there. So do you have a supply chain portal where your comms, policy documents, corporate identity guidelines and templates are centrally stored centrally, that we need to register to, please? Is there a single email that we should use to submit content for approval? Carl, is this been kind of matured yet, or is this something that will come with time? Because it's probably better coming from you, that one.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. So when you've won work at Sizewell, the kind of requirements will be detailed in your contract of what you need to do. So I don't know if you're currently working on Sizewell, Sharon, but there's we only need to approve content from our site. So when you're actively working on the project and things are being gathered, so that will all be detailed in the contracts and when you're actually working.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Carl. And Carl, if you don't mind staying on, because I think I can answer part of this, but I think also it'd be good to come from you as well. And I'm kind of hoping, Ross, now you've seen Nicky's presentation, this half answers your question anyway. But Ross has asked, if you have an in-house creative team, does that mean there will be no opportunities for local creative businesses to supply services? Spacesuit, I'm assuming that's your business, Ross, is proud to have a very diverse team, female, ethnic minority photographers and filmmakers. Carl, I'll let you go first, and then I can add a bit of on top of it afterwards, if you like.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it doesn't mean that at all, Ross. The scale of our project is humongous. So it's 26 miles from north to south of our off-site infrastructure. The main development site is 1,000 acres. So it's a really, really massive site. And with a massive site comes a massive amount of work. So while we look after the construction comms element, it doesn't mean that we can be there to, if you want to mark a milestone that we're not particularly focused on, it doesn't mean to say that suppliers elsewhere in the project will want to use that. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for creative agencies to do stuff as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carl. And yeah, to that point, Ross, I say this a lot. There's direct opportunities on Sizewell. So there's the opportunity to work direct for Sizewell. So as Carl said, there will be things where Sizewell will need stuff and will reach out to the supply chain. They already have in the creative sector, both with regards to comms, a lot of the on-site signage, even down to the induction animation videos that they use. They're using local suppliers already. But it's also the indirect. What you've got to bear in mind is hundreds and hundreds of businesses are going to work on this project. Now, if I'm I don't know, let's say a local civils contractor, and I want to produce a video, I'm going to produce a video because it's for me. I might need to get it signed off by the Sizewell team, but I don't need Sizewell to create that video for me. So what you're actually going to have is an awful lot of businesses that will be needing to do this, and therefore will be looking at their commitments that will be in their contracts around local and regional spend. And that's where there is that then indirect opportunity for lots of support-based service businesses like yourselves. So again, the key that we say, make sure you're signed up representing yourself. When those businesses who win work come forward to us, which they will do, and be in their contracts, etc., to work with us around their supply chain, that's where we can introduce in. And we're having this already. Nicky and Woodbridge Visual Media have had some intros into some local businesses already. We've had net zero consultants, health and safety consultants. I've been asked this week for various types of support for those businesses now working on site that then want to use local providers rather than maybe traditionally their national framework providers to deliver on Sizewell. So definitely there is huge opportunities. And I'm kind of hoping, like I say, bringing Nicky on today, part of the supply chain at Hinckley, helps you kind of see that actually that opportunity is real and is quite vast as well. I mean, Nicky, it might be good to just get your take very quickly as to, like you showed your little image there on 2016, I think, when it was just a bit of a desolate mud desert. How much it's changed and the amount of different companies you're working for now over that time.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, when we started, it was maybe we did one video, I don't know, every 6 months. Now we're on site pretty regularly. We're doing all sorts of things. So there's, and as Carl said, you can't really understand the scale until you actually see it. It is huge. And there are lots of different suppliers working on the site. So there are, at Hinckley, I know the structure will be slightly different at Sizewell C, but there are some main tier 1 providers, and they all have different requirements. So some are pouring concrete, some are fixing rebars. MEH, which is the Mechanical Alliance, are doing the final fixings. So they're doing pipes and electrics. All of these people need some kind of video communications. And that probably won't come from comms. So they'll need internal video communications for their workforces. And they also need recruitment videos. They need apprenticeship videos. They need training videos. So there is massive opportunity beyond the actual comms team on site. And then there's the ancillary supply chain. So all the businesses like Osprey that are supplying into the project will from time to time need video or photography, because they'll be wanting to showcase what they're doing at Sizewell for projects, as Ashley said at the beginning, all around the UK and possibly globally. So, I mean, the opportunity is huge for comms communicators, marketeers, and it's not just going to fall to one provider. The only thing I'd say about these projects is you really have to understand that getting onto a nuclear licensed site is difficult. So we have to go through a massive audit process, just like other suppliers. We're badged, which means that no one else, unless you have a badge, can get onto site. And you have to complete lots of paperwork and safety training. So, and you have to be reliable as well. These projects need the communication straight away once they're commissioned. So you have to have a really good and strong supply chain within your own business.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Nicky. I appreciate that. Phil's put a question which I can happily answer, the best person to speak to around timelines of tenders. So you'll be aware from many of our events that it is the thing we are working the hardest with Sizewell, because we want to ensure that our businesses can best prepare. We live in a part of the world that actually we've got a lot of projects, we've got a lot of opportunity coming our way, particularly in the energy sector. And so actually understanding as a small business when that opportunity is coming on Sizewell can help you best prepare. So if you're not already aware, Phil, if you go onto the Compete For/Sizewell C website where the opportunities are posted, there is now a 6-month look ahead of opportunities that are coming. We are constantly working with Sizewell to expand on the detail within that. And our hope is eventually we'll be able to get to at least a 12-month look ahead. And the whole idea is then you can start to see what activities are happening. Bearing in mind, and I know we always talk, it's exciting, things have happened. Actually, the amount of work happening on site, as busy as it is, and with 900 odd people on site as we stand today, it's barely scratching the surface, I have to say. So yes, there is lots happening, but the scale of the opportunity, 2025 and 2026 are going to be incredibly busy years. So staying in touch with us is the first important point. viewing Compete For and the updates that we post on there of the timeline of activities that's going to come in the next 6 months, and like I say, hopefully 12 months. And also looking at the awarded contracts. If you're a comms-based business, well, actually, you're particularly interested in those that are winning work, that are now working on the project. So on Compete For as well, we host the list of awarded contracts as well. So therefore, you're able to see those businesses that are winning work and then look at how you can then introduce yourself to them and so on. Obviously, we're doing that same piece of work with those that have been awarded contracts to see what they need. You know, do they need local comms-based companies? Do they need local consultants, training providers, or members of their supply chain to be more localized? So there's lots and lots of opportunity there. But the key is, if in doubt, stay in touch with us. One of the key learnings is a project like this takes time. I mean, it takes to travel, whatever it was, 5 miles, it takes 3 hours, or quick maths, to travel down a little road 5 miles on a crane. These things take a long time. And it is just about being patient, but being ready. And so hence, as Nicky said, you know, with regards to some of the things they have to do as a business, it is about taking this opportunity now to get ready. So being able to understand your social value, understand your team and the way in which you develop things, so that when that opportunity comes, you're ready to jump. There's another one on here. So what if you're a micro business that doesn't have a marketing budget, produce marketing material like video? Will this have a negative impact on tendering? I think the key is, no, it won't necessarily have a negative impact on tendering, Emma. But obviously it's about how you sell yourself. And just naturally, as Nicky, I think, said very well earlier, the more you're able to sell yourself, the more you're going to be noticed. So it is a bit of a chicken and egg. I think the key is, you know, that Sizewell's not going to employ someone purely on the basis that the video is really quite exciting and smooth and slick, but it is helping to get noticed. We've got some brilliant businesses locally, but when you look at their websites, if you forget video for a second, you just look at their website, it's incredibly basic. It's not been updated. It's irrelevant in some places. So it is just about representing yourselves in the best way. That's the key. What I would say, Emma, please feel free to reach out to us separately, because if you are a micro business that needs that support, there are grants and funding streams available for smaller businesses through things like the Growth Hub, also through organisations like Mentor, that are based in Suffolk, Norfolk and Suffolk, that can help with businesses like yourselves, maybe to help that first step, to help understand how you can start to produce that material. So again, where there's things that you need, that maybe you need additional support, we can then help introduce you into those support metrics as well. And then on the final one on this question asked, you know, will Carl's contact details be made available to pass to our comms contact? I'll assume, Carl, what, more of a central contact rather than your email?
We don't have that quite set up yet, so yeah, feel free to. It's carl.turner@sizewellc.com. So please put your comms contacts in touch with me. They only need to get in touch when you're actually on the project, though.
Yeah, that's the key. As Carl said, Carl's role is about if you're on site. And I appreciate some will think that, I'm sure Carl would love to have the power to approve people to win contracts, etc. I don't think you've got that quite yet, Carl, have you? But if you are working on site, then yes, Carl's details. And if not, you know, please feel free to reach out again to myself and our team, and we will help facilitate that conversation as well. I think there's something else gone into the Q&A. Wait for my Q&A thing to pop up, because it's not. There we go. That's fine. It's finally come up. How would you go about gaining access when using an internal marketing team for creating content on site? Carl?
Again, that's the first point of contact would be myself. We just need to understand what it is you're trying to achieve, and then we can talk about getting your suppliers brought in to capture that content.
No, fantastic. Thank you, Carl. And then, as a small company, is it worth creating a video? I think, Claire, that kind of along the same lines as what Emma has said, it does make a difference. I mean, I'll give you even silly examples like us. Many of you probably follow us on social media. When we do our very long-winded, sometimes text purely based posts, get decent, you know, amount of reach and contact with people. As soon as we put anything that is visual, particularly if it's video, it reaches so much further. So I think it has to be the right type of video, obviously, but it does make a massive difference. And I think depending on what your business is, it can really showcase, I would think so anyway, and I'll ask Nicky to add probably a more intelligent answer to this, but I think it really can showcase your business in a much better way. I know Nicky didn't talk about it, but I know she did some filming with Peterson's recently, or a business who've got a base in Lowestoft. And actually, from what their business is of logistics, when you then see it in visual form, it makes such a massive difference and helps you understand what it is they do. And I think sometimes that's what video can do. I mean, Nicky, from your side, have you got anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think you don't necessarily have to do anything too fancy. I mean, the Osprey video was a huge logistical, we planned it like they planned their lift. We planned the whole thing over months, and it was 4 days filming. You can just do a small video. I mean, even do something maybe on your mobile. I just think that video brings things alive. And what I was trying to say in the presentation is that when people are really time poor and they want quick information and it's to hand on your website or on your social media channel, it'll get you noticed. And the competition in the supply chain is going to be pretty fierce, I think, because there are a lot of companies that want work from Sizewell. So I would say give yourself as much advantage as you can. If you're a small company, use what resources you've got available. But I think the first point is just really update your website before you go to video. You've got to have a good platform to put it on. Make sure that and the other thing about a website is it can look great, but if it takes ages to load, they'll just bypass it. So make sure your website is good. That's your base, and then you can add all the bells and whistles afterwards. But I think if you're going to put a serious bid into the supply chain, I think you probably do need some type of video.
No, brilliant. Thank you, Nicky. And it's like I say, it's the experience we have, even down to case studies. So some of the case studies we've done very recently with businesses that are either gearing up for the project or have been successful and won work on the project. You can do a written case study and some lovely words and facts and figures, and it lands. But actually, when you do that piece of filming and you see that little bit of work that they've done and you actually speak to the people doing it, we did it recently with the team doing the direct air capture at Lowestoft. It adds so much to it, because then you see, I think as Carl said earlier, you see the people behind it. So, we all know what a business does a lot of the time, but you don't always understand the people stories behind it. So it can, especially as a small business, certainly, not to stereotype, but as a small business, it's probably all about that owner, all about that person that come up with the idea. You're the one with the passion and the enthusiasm for what it is you're trying to do. And your team, probably quite a small team around you, feed off of you. Well, why can't then the supply chain and the tier one contractors at Sizewell and the larger companies feed off your enthusiasm for your business as well? So sometimes the best people to do these videos as well are the ones that are just believe in what you deliver. So important. There's no more questions yet. If any do come through, just making sure, then obviously we'll continue to answer. But just last couple of slides from me in that regard, and one to make sure to reiterate really is around the supply chain portals. Please, we'll send out the links when we share the slides, and we'll share the link to the recording with everyone that's registered. So all of you on today will get this. It'll of course also be hosted on our website. So Sizewell C supplychain.co.uk, and we'll send out that link as well. You can see all of the previous webinars, and the whole idea is so that you can go back over them, especially as you maybe start to get close to winning work. You can then refresh yourself on understanding whether that's around collaborating and working with other businesses, or, as I said earlier, some of the social value bits and pieces that are required, tackling your net zero or thinking about ED&I. But also make sure you revisit your portal entry. We keep adding more questions all the time, because as we understand some of the things the project needs, we ask the questions of you in advance on our portal. The reason we do that is because when we start to spot areas where lots of local companies are not able to answer a question, or the answer to that question is no from local companies, we know we need to try and find support for those areas. So the more up-to-date and accurate you can make your portal entries, the more relevant and realistic we can make the support we offer to you. And as per the point I made to Emma earlier, if you need something, all we ask is reach out to us and we will attempt to help you in that regard. One extra question. Are the packages being released on the portal for the Hinkley A decommissioning works? No. So with regards to nuclear, it's a funky industry that's attempting to be brought together. But if you take Sizewell, it's 3 different owners of each site, A, B, and C. And I'm pretty confident Hinkley is similar. So I can only talk directly about Sizewell at this point, not Hinkley. But Sizewell A decommissioning is handled separate, completely independently. Now, as an organisation, as your local chamber, we are attempting to work closer with the owners of Sizewell A, the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, who run that site, to see where the opportunities are in the future and to see if we can, let's say, influence or impact their local commitments as well. Is there a way we can bring more local businesses that are maybe experts or got the ability to be experts into the decommissioning of old plants? Bearing in mind, as I said earlier, there's a lot of plants about to reach the end of their life. So decommissioning over the course of the next 20, 30, 40 years is going to become an even bigger and bigger opportunity for businesses. So it's something we're working on. Oh, you were going to say Sizewell, fantastic. It's something we're working on. But right now, our work on Sizewell is exclusively Sizewell. But we're chatting to A and we're chatting to B as well about how we can bring more local suppliers into their supply chain to really maximize on that legacy piece that we're trying to do. All right, get rid of that one. So just a quick extra plug. We've got a couple of events coming up. First one I really want to hammer home. On the Tuesday, the 10th of December, we have our next of these series of webinars that is around health and well-being. As I mentioned earlier, Sizewell is keen to ensure it is a best-in-class project, and that is everything from the technology used down to how it looks after people. And safety and the welfare of a workforce is vitally, vitally important. So we are urging businesses of all shapes and sizes, sign up. You'll again understand the Sizewell take on this subject and the amount of work that they are going to be putting in themselves. They're currently at tender stage for the companies that are going to run the health and wellbeing service on site. But also you'll again hear from local organisations that can help businesses and support you in supporting your business, because it can be a little bit like Emma's comment earlier, can be an expensive thing to get started. It can be a troublesome thing of how you start to navigate this. Actually, there's lots of charity and voluntary organisations and social enterprises locally that actually can help businesses very, very easily. So that's available to sign up to now for the Tuesday, the 10th of December. And then as a little bit of an early heads up, we've not sent the invites out to this yet, but we will send it out to our entire database of nearly 5,000 people. We will be doing our next Engage, Update, Inform webinar, which will be Thursday, the 12th of December, between 9 and 11. That will be featuring some of the senior team at Sizewell in charge currently of delivering this project and giving you an update on both the project, the plans moving forward into 2025, and particularly focusing on some of those key areas that we know local businesses are caring about. So it's our first real chance to start to set up a more regular drumbeat with the supply chain, both locally, regionally, and some of the larger national providers, to help ensure you are as completely up to date and informed as possible. So look out for this. We will promote this heavily on social media next week. It will be on our website and we will be emailing everyone on our database, and we would encourage you to sign up to this. And then our plan moving into next year is that these will be either monthly and potentially later in the year bi-monthly updates to ensure that you are getting the complete up-to-date information that you need. I'll just see if there's anything else. There's something else in the chat. Was it? Oh, that's fine. That's great. Good. I'm glad I answered it for you. So, so if there is nothing else, as we always say, the key final thing, aside from us batting on about signing up to our portal and making sure it's relevant, is tell us what else you need. If we understand the subject matters that matter to you as the local and regional supply chain, we will try and help you. If we understand the needs that you have, we will feed this in through the various stakeholders on this project to ensure that that voice of local and regional businesses is heard, and so that the support being offered is relevant and what we need. So please, reach out to myself, reach out to the entire team, and we will more than happily host different types of events and make sure that you are fully aware of what's going on, and that the support we're offering is as accurate as is needed. So I think that's pretty much it. I'll say thank you very much to everyone for attending. By the end of this week, it's Friday today, early next week, you should receive the email with all the slides on. And then this will be hosted on the website should you want to look back over it. But I wish you a good day, and stay safe if it's snowing like it was this morning in Suffolk. Thank you.